We have a liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Good evening, everybody. What's up? What's up? It is another episode of Authentically You podcast. I'm excited tonight. I am excited tonight. I got a special guest with me that I'm excited about. I know that you guys are going to be thoroughly blessed by this conversation tonight. So I'm excited. So, y'all know how we do when you are tuning in Facebook, Instagram. I see Instagram. Y'all coming on real strong on Instagram. What's up, everybody? Give y'all some shout outs. What's up? What's up? I would call some of y'all names, but I don't want to embarrass nobody. But hey, what's up, everybody? Do me a favor if you are tuning in with us, and we believe over here that caring is sharing. And so that means if you're watching, you ought to share with somebody. So how do you do that? Facebook, you go down to the bottom, you hit the share button. Instagram, you hit that paper airplane. And then YouTube, you just send the link to somebody. I think we ought to give some good information to people. And that's how you do that, by sharing. All right. I'm your host, Dwayne Williams Jr. I am excited tonight about who we have with us. I'm also sharing as we speak because I want us to maximize this moment of good content and great information. And so when you have that, you ought to, you ought to share with some people. Okay. So let's do it like this. Y'all give me 2 seconds as you coming in. As you coming in, shout out where you are watching from. I would love it. My guest is on for tomorrow, Dr. Perry. Thank you for joining tomorrow. If you guys are anywhere near these internet streets, make sure you tune in. We're gonna have a conversation around community, and Dr. Perry is gonna be joining us tomorrow. And so, hello everybody. Hello. Ms. Johnson, thank you for joining. As you come in, say hello. Tell us where you are watching from. Fort Worth, Texas. My brother is on. What's up, my man? And they are in the building. So thank you all for joining. I'm going to share quickly because I want us to be effective tonight and getting that information out before I introduce our guest tonight. What can I say about her? She is a wife. She is a faithful daughter. She is a devoted daughter, first of all, to God, most importantly. She is a hard worker, and we both have been out in these ministry streets serving God as best as we can. As best as we can. And it's amazing just to see the consistency that we have. I think I've known Dr. Long now probably like a little over five, a little over five. She's brought me to, she was serving here in Baltimore, brought me to her young people in Baltimore and allowed me to share. And been friends ever since. I mean, I have nothing negative to say. Just a smart. Well, we brought her to. I just forgot. We brought you to Delaware for our Bridge and Bethel fellowship, and you did a training. So she's intelligent. She's smart. She's not just holy, but she's intelligent and smart. And so she is going to really share tonight, and I pray that you all would definitely share. Let's see who we got coming in the room. We got New Jersey in the room, South Carolina. Y'all, you know, South Carolina is in here heavy. South Carolina in the room. More South Carolina in the room. So thank you all for watching. Listen, without further ado, this African American woman. Smart, loves God, a wife, uh, innovative, a leader amongst leaders. Would y'all help me welcome to the Authentically You podcast stage at this time, the one and only Dr. Long. What's up?
Praise the Lord, Pastor Williams. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing today?
I'm well. I'm
How was
well.
your day? Before we start any conversation, we like to check in and just make sure that at least your day is going good. How's your day going?
Day is going well. God has been merciful, traveling mercies, and no complaints.
Hey, you've been out here. You've been out here in
Keep
a
me
good way.
busy. God is
You know,
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
young people say they you've been I've been in the streets.
Yeah,
Some
this happened.
say,
I'm out
yeah,
in these streets.
I'm out in these streets, but you've been out in the streets and
Jesus.
yes. But you've been out here in a good way, serving your leader and continuing the forefront to ministry and just weathering all of the great things that God is doing in your life. And so we'd like to do that check in. So, how are you feeling today? What
Doing
you feeling
good.
like?
I'm feeling great. Actually, recovering from a lot of the travel, juggling a lot of projects at work and other things that, my husband and I believe that he is calling us to in this season. So feeling good, also feeling just since we're being authentically us, in a true season of navigation, needing to
Mm,
navigate spiritually, needing to navigate
mm,
physically, needing to navigate psychologically, emotionally, in a way that, first of all, of course, brings glory to God, but also ultimately leads to productivity.
wow.
And so it can be challenging when you want to do what you want to do and also want to do what God wants you to do.
Yeah.
And so we're navigating, and it's a blessing to be in a position to have to choose.
Listen, let's stay right there. Let's
Sure.
stay right there. Let's stay at navigating because I love that word for so many different reasons. Because many people oftentimes associate navigating to just one entity, to just one perspective.
Hmm.
Talk to me about that word. When you say navigating, what is it that you're navigating, and how are you navigating whatever it is that you're navigating in this season?
Yeah. So you think about a GPS.
Mm,
Even just now, I was on the road. somewhere that I've been thousands of times.
Wow.
But it was raining and there was traffic. And what did I do? I turned on my GPS to see how I could get where I needed to go
Wow.
in optimal time. And so that gives me the option to choose different navigation routes.
Yeah.
And so when you're navigating your life, when you're navigating, you're navigating through choices because,
Wow.
I could have taken 395, I could have taken 270, I could have taken 95.
I see what
I
type of time you on today. Let's go. I love it.
ideally,
I love it. Let's go.
ideally, you think you're going to end up where you're supposed to end up, but the truth of the matter is, if you take one route over the other, you could get there late, you could get there early, or you cannot get there at all.
Wow.
So it really just depends. So when I say we're navigating, that means we're really seeking the Lord for His purpose, His will, and how we are pursuing purpose through God. Because you say you can get a lot of ways, a lot of different ways, but the truth of the matter is only one is going to get you there on God's time.
Wow. Wow. I love this conversation already because when you talk about navigating, I know some of your story, or
Yes.
at least a good portion of your story.
Mhm.
You were right here in the greatest city in America at one point in time. I just want to just plug that
Charm City.
Charm City. You were right here in the greatest city in America at one point in time, and then God allowed you to meet your husband and navigate to a new city.
Yeah.
Tell me, inwardly, did you feel some type of way? Oh yes, sir. We're gonna talk tonight.
Oh, I
Come on, let's go.
grieved. I grieved a lot of times. When people, even just a couple days ago, someone said, "Do you miss being in Maryland? Or do you miss Baltimore?" And I say, "No, I miss the people. I don't miss the traffic.
Oh,
I
I mean, our traffic ain't that bad
It's
now.
terrible. When you're
It ain't.
coming from the country to the city, I don't miss the traffic. I don't
Yeah.
miss the anxiety. I don't miss the police sirens. I don't miss any of that. I miss the people. But I will say, initially relocating to North Carolina with my amazing husband, who I know is
Yeah.
watching, Brother
Definitely
Long
shout out.
Jr. I love you, boo. That's my boo. Yes. Initially moving to the Carolinas,
Right.
he will tell you for months, I cried every Sunday,
Now, are we talking about like actual tears, or was this an
weeping,
inwardly cry,
weeping,
like physical tears?
physical
Man,
tears.
hold on, you got to tell me about this. What was going on?
I grieved my church.
Wow.
I grieved my church. Shout out to Freedom Church and Ministries, Bishop Brian
Wow.
Kenneth Martin, the newly appointed pastors, Executive Pastor Milton, Campus
I love
Pastor
it. Come on, give all the shout outs. I
John,
love it.
Campus Pastor Kendra, love them all. So yes, that place built me.
Mm.
When I showed up at Freedom almost 10 years ago now, I was battered, I was broken, I had been
Wow.
abused. Most people who know my
Wow.
testimony, I was a domestic violence survivor. So I was a young girl who was so lost. And between the time that I walked through the doors and the time that I relocated, I had become the youth pastor at one juncture and the assistant pastor of the ministry at another.
Wow.
So I loved that place from a very I love that church from a very deep place. And so as much as I loved my husband, he will tell you I cried every Sunday.
Which I understand, right? Because you're talking about, and what many people don't understand is a place that restores you,
Yes.
a place that allows you to recover. You will always have some level of love beyond just a word of love, like, oh, I love them. No, it will seep into you and become
For sure.
uh become the very being of who you are. So tell me something. You're crying. Your husband's got to know, like, hey,
Oh yeah.
this not about me. Like, how did you manage to work through that moment
Mhm.
And what were some of the strategies he used to help you work through that moment? Maybe I need to bring y'all back together.
Yes, for sure.
I did it with Elder Spud and his wife. I'm gonna bring y'all back together.
Yeah,
I've made up my mind.
his
Yeah.
perspective is very different from mine because he was on the receiving end of those tears. And
Hmm.
so a lot of times, and I don't want to tell his testimony, but a lot of times he would say, I feel like this is my fault because you only moved here for me. And I'm like, but it's not you. I'm happy to be here. But he's so naturally supportive that he didn't make me feel bad. And honestly, when
Yeah.
they talk about and this is something that if we get to a part in the conversation about grief, with losing my
We're
father
coming.
and then
We're
also
coming.
my
Yeah.
mother, one thing I have learned is that even when you are in so much pain, when they say life goes on,
Whew.
that's not just the euphemism, it's not just the adage, it's not just the idiom.
Talk,
Life
Doc.
goes on.
Talk.
And either you go on with it or you find yourself
Behind the eight ball, and for the lack of better words.
and yes, building psychological sandcastles. And
Mm.
so over time, when they say life goes on, it does. And because we, when I was grieving freedom during that time, we were talking to Bishop Martin like every single day, like that made it better in a sense. So it worked itself out over time.
Wow.
Still love the place, still miss the place, but the tears slowly but surely they stopped, and we were busy in ministry as well. So I just had to adjust
Mm.
to a new environment, a new normal, and I'm very vulnerable. I teach emotional intelligence, so I try to
Yes, you
practice
do.
that
Yes, you
emotional
do.
intelligence so I don't hide when I'm sad, when I'm disappointed, not disappointed, let down, because our Bishop Blue teaches us you cannot be disappointed because no one else appointed you but God.
Mm.
So you can't be disappointed, but I
He,
allow
he, he giving
myself.
me something to think about. He giving
That's
me something
right.
to think
I
about. I
don't use
like
that
that.
word anymore.
I
Let
like that.
down.
Okay.
But I allow myself to feel and be present in all the emotions that I have. And so, over time, the Lord works it out.
I love this conversation already. If you are just you're enjoying this conversation, and my sister's already dropping gems for you, just do me a favor. Go ahead and throw some hearts up in the comments. Let's show us some love already. I take this moment to just pause because we get ready to talk about some heavy stuff, and I just want to catch our breath for a moment. But I do love one thing that you talked about when you talk about transitioning. uh, you cried, you were weeping, but you weren't weeping necessarily what you were leaving. You were weeping because of what had been established in your life. And I don't think that many people talk about that. And I want to just pause for a second to kind of jump on that and then get back into asking you some questions. Um, I used to tell people all the time that when I left my home church, because I was there until I was 20 something years old. I did go through that same, because now you get language to put the things, because at first, you know, you aren't intellectually all the way there. As you're developing, the Lord brings language to help you describe stuff. And I realized, like, man, I was weeping the foundation that allowed me to cut my teeth and to recover and to build. Can I even give you this? Because you said something so powerful. Friends that I grew up with in my home church, I weep the breaking, not because we had a tear,
Right.
but because everybody went their own paths.
Everyone grew up.
Man, this gonna get good tonight.
Everyone grew up.
Everybody grew up, and I was comparing a lot of friendships to the friendships that I had early on in life. So I was like, "Yo, you're not my friend because you don't act like that."
No,
You know?
and also I think, and I'm liking these comments. I'm trying to interact with the.
No, do both. This is a relaxed environment. Do
I
both.
think when we grow, there
Yeah.
is a false sense of uniformity in our relationships,
Whew.
that everyone's going to be growing at the same speed that you are. that when you go to North Dakota and I go to North Carolina and someone else goes to, some other place, whether within these United States or across the pond, we assume that when we reconnect, we would have all had the same life experiences, the same come to Jesus moments,
Wow.
the same monumental experiences that causes one to put away childish things, to say yes to God and mean it. And so I think one other part of transition that we don't talk about enough is grieving what we think should be. So if I left,
Don't run over that. Don't run over
okay,
that. Don't run over that.
okay,
Say that one more time. Grieving
grieving what we think should
to
be, and
be.
this is specifically in terms of people that we believe in.
Yeah.
Because if I leave you, and when I say leave, I mean geographically. If
Yeah.
I leave you, if we're in covenant, if you're my friend, if I leave you and we reconnect, and you're doing the same thing you were doing when we left,
Mm.
I feel a sense of grief
Mm.
because you have made a conscious decision to not allow a new environment to force something new out of you. You think
Mm.
about a seed on a table is going to do something different from a seed on the ground. The seed on the table is going to stay, eventually it's going to dry up.
Whew.
Eventually it might sprout a little bit just because that's what some seeds do, but it's not going to grow like the seed that is planted, like the seed that is watered, like the seed that's under the sun.
Mm.
It's not going to grow like that. And so you have to make a conscious decision. Yeah, we're in two separate places, but when we reconnect, not if, but when we reconnect, I want to make sure that you're becoming who you're supposed to be in God. I'm becoming who I'm supposed to be in God. But here's the caveat. If we find out that you're not, don't fault me because I am.
There we go.
Don't fault me because I am. So you can grieve
Whew.
what you think should be because, a lot of times we talk about how we are hard on ourselves and we expect to be in a certain place by now. But when you love and believe in somebody so much, you can be devastated by the fact that they don't believe in themselves like you do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'll pause there
Yeah.
because I feel like I
I,
fixed
I,
myself.
I want you to go. I want you to go. Wherever you want to go, I want you to go. We're not systematic. We just flow. So wherever you want to go, I want you to go. And I'll jump in when need be. You said a mouthful. Grieving what you think should be. Whew.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
mean, because I have many friends who are now associates, or had many friends who are now associates, not because I love them any differently, and not because I feel like they love me any differently.
Mm.
Um, and even the people that I have in my mind are, friends from school, friends from the neighborhood I grew up in. Um, we all make choice. We all have to navigate.
Yeah. Yeah. Whew. All right. Let's take a breath. Whew. I wish I had a bomb to just drop in the room.
Like on ESPN,
Yeah.
30 seconds for each topic.
All right, okay. Let's talk about this. Dr. Long, uh, accomplished, uh, loving God, uh, becoming a wife, but now experiencing the loss, the grief, and if at any given point in time it becomes too much, you
Oh,
just
I
let me
will
know.
cry. I have no shame.
It's okay. It's okay.
I have no shame.
Yeah, let's talk about this. And I feel blessed tonight because this is probably like the first interview you've done in a long time, correct?
It is.
And I feel blessed. Like
The first
Elder
one for
Spud,
sure since my dad passed away.
listen, and Elder Spud came on Authentically You Podcast. He shared his story of him and his
Mhm.
wife
Yes.
trying to have a baby. Now you're sharing your story. I feel blessed
Yes.
that I have friends that trust me enough to facilitate tough conversations. Because my life ain't been no crystal stair. So
None of us. None of us.
we can you are moving through ministry, you're loving God, you experience the loss of a mother and a father. Let's walk through this a little bit. How do you feel just as Sylvia?
At what point in time on that journey? Today?
Losing at that point, like when you
Okay.
lost them, yeah, how did you
Yeah.
feel?
Sure. So both situations were very different. My mother was 63 years
Yeah,
old when she passed, and uh, we did not anticipate her passing when she did because she had actually just been released from the hospital a week prior.
yeah.
So my mother suffered with kidney disease, and so eventually her kidneys failed. But I will say, because the Lord deals with me in dreams, and my older sister is on the live, she can attest to this.
Hello, older
Read
sister.
Courtney, yes, and today's her birthday. Shout out to my
Happy
sister
birthday to
Courtney.
you.
Happy
Happy birthday. See, I
birthday!
wish I had that bomb. Bam, 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 bam. I make some noise
Yes.
for
The Lord deals with me in dreams, and I dreamed that my mother passed away 3 days before she did.
wow.
And I remember I woke up and I told someone from Freedom the dream that I had, and I called my sister, and I
Mm,
said, "We need to." I mean, I just went on this whole thing. We need to call a family meeting. I dreamed mommy passed away, and I was trying to intervene. I was trying to stop it without
man,
going
you
through.
might make me cry. Come on.
Yeah,
slow,
no,
slow walkers.
without going through all of what happened within that 3-day window. Um, we called to get a transport to take her back to rehab after I had that dream. The day it was 2 days after. So I had the dream on a Tuesday. Wednesday, we had the family meeting because I
Yeah.
had that dream. Thursday, we called for a transport to take her back to rehab. When the transport gets to the house, keep in mind, this is not the ambulance. We didn't call
Wow.
an ambulance because something was wrong. When
Right.
the transport got to our house, she went into cardiac arrest.
Mm,
And that was a day working from home. I was working from home, and that was the day I was supposed to be in the office.
mm.
But for whatever reason, I said, I'm going to stay home today. And she went into cardiac arrest and she passed that Saturday.
Wow.
So the
First of
Lord
all, let me acknowledge that
prepared
we're
me.
we're
Go ahead.
sorry for the loss.
Thank you. Thank you.
But as you're dealing with this, did you ever, like, honestly, did you ever be like, hold up, God, wait a minute. I serve you faithfully. Why now and why me?
Well, I could have said that when I got divorced 10 years
Oof.
ago. I could have, and I have said that.
Mm,
But it's something I was going to post today that I did not post, but I just didn't get around to. I probably will. But the idea behind it is we would be crazy to think that anything that we go through in this life is merely for us. That is
let me just sit
probably
back.
that is probably, first of all, a satanic idea
Mm,
because the enemy uses deception to cause frustration, to try and pervert expectations so that when things go awry or things hurt us, we charge God foolishly.
wow.
And so, of course, I'm thinking when my mother passed, it was just so fast. It all just happened so quickly. Um, and I didn't really start grieving. My mother passed April 13th of 2019. I didn't start to grieve her until her birthday, which was January of the next year.
Wow.
And so, one thing I want to encourage those who are listening, if they're dealing with any type of loss, if you don't cry immediately, if you don't start processing immediately, if
Mm,
you don't, it takes time. We are not machines.
yeah.
We are not machines. And as much as people might say, oh, you get 30 days to grieve, you get 60 days to grieve, you get 90 days to grieve, you can't tell your body how to respond to grief. You can tell
Mm,
your spirit how to respond because we are spirit beings. And you can tell your mouth what to say in response to said grief.
mm.
But your body is going to internalize how it feels. And you have to give yourself some grace to walk through, even if you're crying 6 months later, 9 months later, a year later, 2 years later. So I did say something earlier on Facebook about my father, and I'm just now starting to process. It takes time. In short, it takes time.
Mm. Whew. All right. Uh, so that I remain manly today, and I'm not saying that you can't cry.
You can cry.
Man, you know, I got a question here. You talk about you telling your spirit, but your humanity being different. What were some of the things that you were telling your spirit so that you could be able to at least um, move with some level of consistency? And then what were some things at that time that like your humanity was experiencing? And how did you learn to distinguish the difference between the two and make the adjustments that you need?
Yeah. So I can even fast forward to more presently, which is the passing of my father. The one thing you have to tell yourself in any situation that can be deemed negative or adversarial, you know, any type of loss, anything that can be labeled as a challenge, is that there is purpose in this season.
Mm,
I just told someone over the weekend that if I don't believe that the timing of my father's passing was literally the divine providence of God,
yeah,
I would have been depressed. I would
yeah.
have been depressed because some people would say, "Well, Sylvia, he was 101 years old," but Daddy was
Some people
literally.
trying to be. They're like, "Hey, he lives." No, I mean, but this is good because I had to learn how to not be in that category because I do think that way, right? I'm being honest. I
Yeah,
do
of
think that
course.
way. When somebody lived 100, 101, 102, I'm like, man, we ain't got nothing to cry about. They lived a
You
long
you think
life.
that, of
You
course, but
think that? Yes,
I
yes,
had this conversation with our pastor, Bishop Blue, and he said to me, he said, most people think in that way that if somebody lives that long, that we're not impacted by the
right,
loss. But
right.
the inverse is true, that because you've had them for so long, the void is that much greater.
Wow, it would be almost better to have them shorter than to have them longer. Talk, talk.
I don't want to make a generalization like
Utilization.
that
Gotcha, gotcha,
because
gotcha, gotcha, gotcha,
because
gotcha,
you
gotcha,
do think about
gotcha.
people who grieve not having parents at all or losing
Right.
their parents at a very young age. So their memory doesn't allow
Allow
them
them.
to grieve
Yes,
the way I'm grieving.
and
But
that's why
they're
I made that
grieving a
statement.
void in general.
Yeah,
So
and that's why I made that statement because
yeah,
what I don't know, I can't grieve. So
you can
although
grieve,
I
but
can't
it won't
grieve,
be
let me
the
back
way
up.
it is.
It just wouldn't be right, right. And
Mhm,
and essentially, if my mom died at 3,
mhm.
yes, I'm like, dang, my mom didn't see me get married.
Right,
My mom
right,
didn't see me
right,
do
right.
this, that kind of level. But I can't. I don't have an understanding. Let's use that
Mhm.
word. I don't have an understanding of what was because I have no context to what was. All I could, all I'm grieving is I, what I'm not able to make happen now.
And for some people,
Yeah,
that's a
the big thing.
major that is a major challenge as well because
Yeah.
they don't have, they can grieve what I saw the comment, they can grieve what they wish for. They can
Oh yeah.
grieve what, seeing what everyone else has, and then it's like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
I wish I had a parent. Or there are some people who've never had a relationship with their parents who wishes or would probably say, even if I lost them as a teenager, even if I lost them as a young adult, because for me, I'm thinking, man, my mother didn't see me marry my husband. My father, he would always say, I want to be around to see at least one little snotty nosed grandbaby. I cried about that the other day
Right,
because
right, right.
I'm not going
He
to
said
happen.
snotty nose though.
That's
It
what
was
he would
funny.
always say. But that
Were you a
doesn't
crybaby
change.
when you were a baby?
No, no, I don't
Oh,
think I
okay.
was a crybaby. I
Well,
was a
tell me.
crier, but I'm a crybaby. Ask my sister; she's on here.
Okay.
But you can grieve what is, and you can grieve what is
Well,
not,
it isn't. Yeah. Yeah.
and so
Woo.
it affects everyone differently. And you don't have to compare your grief to someone else's.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I think grief. Yes, sister said no, she wasn't. She said nah, she wasn't. Oh, that's a nice sister. She covering for you tonight.
Listen, she tells the
uh,
truth now.
yeah, no, I love it. I love it. You know, I love your point about grieving what was and what wasn't. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist by any means necessary, but I got some skill set. Maybe they give me an honorary something.
Don't get me started
uh,
on that.
no, listen, I won't. I won't. But you know, when you've worked in human services for such a long time, me being an ex-police, school
Mhm.
system, all of those things, you kind of learn what we call sociology, which is the study of community.
That's
Right?
right.
You learn that from a greater level of expertise, and this is just a cliff note. You know, here in Baltimore City, what many people don't know is when I was a cop, New Psalmist Baptist Church would make every newly appointed minister or elder or deacon do a ride along with the Baltimore City Police. And they felt that it was crucial for them never to lose the sense of what community is, right? I think oftentimes we think that giving back, Thanksgiving, uh, Resurrection Sunday, Easter Sunday, Christmas, back to school. I'm not demonizing that stuff. I think that
Right.
is a really great advantage point or really great point of reference. But to really know the community, you first have to understand what it is that they do or what it is that's happening out there on a consistent basis. Media and different things can paint one picture, but when you know what actually goes on, it's a different level of understanding. Needless to say, they did that initiative, and I thought that initiative was really sound, and I shared it with some other pastors. I thought that initiative was extremely sound because it allows you to always keep a pulse on the community, not just in the form of giving back. The reason why I'm bringing this all of this up is because you made a very great statement, grieving what you lost and what you didn't lose. I think I went through a few phases of that my own self in my life
Mhm.
when I lost my father at 15. Uh, Now I understand what it is. I grieved it because I didn't have him to shape, to mold, or to do certain things that I see other fathers do for their
Right.
sons
Right.
at those ages. And so, um, walking through all of that, you kind of understand it and you get it. I want to take us here. Um, you are navigating all of this. How was your relationship with Christ as you are navigating all of this? Was there ever a point of contact where you was like, I wouldn't say give up. Let's not use that word. But where you got extremely frustrated, and maybe I'm taking the word from you. Maybe you want to use that word.
Yeah,
What
you
was
can
it?
use whatever word you want. So January 24th, 2022.
2 years ago. Okay.
2.5.
Yeah. Yeah. 2.5. You're right. Because we're halfway through this year. Okay.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I experienced a medical emergency.
Yeah.
I'm at the gym. Daddy's in the car because I took daddy with me everywhere.
Was he sitting in the car while you were working out? Man. What's that song? That's love.
Yes, he I would take him everywhere, like
That's
everywhere.
not
He's like,
how.
"Oh, baby, just roll the windows down. I can see you through the window," you
He
know.
was sitting in the car while you
Yeah.
was working out.
Mhm. And I wouldn't stay like a long time. I think I was in there maybe like 20, 30 minutes, you know.
Watch this. Watch this, Reverend Long. If you're listening, you gotta sit in the car.
No, he goes, he
Oh,
goes.
he sits in the. Oh, he
He
goes. He
just
works
finished
out.
a
Okay.
2 mile run. So he
My God, come
yeah,
on.
he
That's
just sent
not
it to
how.
me.
All right.
So I'm sitting in the car. Oh, so I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Daddy's sitting in the car and I come outside and I'm like, I can't breathe.
Wow.
I can not breathe. And he's like, what's wrong? He's just like, what's wrong? I said, Daddy, I feel like I'm having a heart attack, and I have to drive because at this point, Daddy's not driving.
Okay. Right. Right.
So
I got
I
you.
have to drive myself home. I'm calling the ambulance. I call my father-in-law on one phone. I call the ambulance on my work phone.
Mm.
Get to the house. Ambulance comes, they take an EKG. Oh, everything's fine. It's just your hormones. It's a panic attack. I'm like, no, there's something wrong with me. They put me in the ambulance. They take me to the hospital. They run all these tests. I mean, I'm there until the next morning. And of course, you have a clean bill of health. There's nothing wrong with you. And I'm so frustrated because
Yeah.
I know something is going on.
You know something. You know your body. When you know your body, you like, hey, I know something. Yep.
And the
I
worst
understand.
thing about it is when minorities feel like we can't advocate for ourselves in
Wow.
certain settings. That can be challenging. Um, a woman trying to advocate for herself, that
Herself
can
is
be
another issue.
challenging.
Yep. A black woman.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it's always interesting because I work in public health.
Yeah.
And so being on the research side of things, and then at one point I worked in a hospital setting, but being on the research side of things and then being a patient, seeing how primary care physicians can ignore what you're saying. I know my body, I know something's off. And honestly, and this, what I'm about to say is not just for physiology, it's also for spirituality. And that is,
Right.
just because something is common doesn't mean it's normal. Just because
Mm.
a lot of people do it, just because a lot of people experience it, just because many
Mm.
people have it, does not mean that it's the plan of God.
Mm.
So when you say, "Oh, this is
Watch yourself,
within
Doc.
this is within normal range," my blood work should be within optimal range, not normal range, because normal
Mm.
range to you is enough to keep me out the grave,
Yeah.
not to keep me thriving.
Yeah.
So fast forward weeks later, I can't eat solid food. It's taking me an hour to drink 8 ounces of water. It's taking me 4 hours to eat half a banana, and I am wasting away. I lose
Wow.
almost 100 pounds in 4 months.
Wow. Wow.
You could not tell me, saved, sanctified, Pastor Sylvia, you couldn't tell me I wasn't going to die.
Wow.
And you also couldn't tell me that God was not punishing me for something from years ago.
Wow. You thought he was
Yeah.
catching up with you.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's what the devil
Don't
tells
feel
you, isn't it?
listen, don't feel bad because I've had those thoughts when I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
he get me back. I'm okay. I'm gonna eat this. I'm gonna eat
And
this.
I'm going to tell you what didn't help. That's why I thank God, because I mean, at the time we weren't members of the Door of Hope. So this
Yeah.
was before we were there. I thank God for our pastor, because it was through his teaching. First of all, it freed me from even
Mm.
just believing the idea that God punishes us in this dispensation. He doesn't do
Watch your
that.
tone. I wish I knew how to play the organ right here.
No, yeah, because I mean, when you're brought up strict
Holiness.
holiness, when
I
things
mean,
happen to people, that's God getting them. Now God's sovereignty
yeah.
and his power allows him to use all things for his glory. So that
Yes, sir.
that's where we get Romans 8:28. All
Hey,
things work
work
together.
together.
But that does not mean God
Talk.
enjoys seeing us sick,
Come on.
seeing us bound.
Come
And
on.
someone actually told me, I asked them a question at that time, well, why has this happened? And they said to me, it's because you were resistant.
Wow. Resistant to what?
That would be a whole other podcast.
Oh, I mean, I'm bringing you back for part two.
That
You're
would
gonna
be,
have to come with
but they
Mr.
were pretty
Long.
much
Yeah.
saying, because almost kind of, almost because of how they saw me grieving my former church, like
Wow.
I was resisting what God was doing now, so God had to wake me up type thing. Now they were telling me that. I'm thinking, oh no, God
Did
is
you believe that? Did you believe that at the time?
in part. I did.
Right.
And I felt like, nah, it's that, but also, I mean, I'm literally sitting in the middle of the floor. Keep in mind, and I'm trying to paint a picture for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I was sensitive to the touch. Like if somebody would touch me, it
Yeah.
would hurt.
Wow.
I was so weak in my body.
Wow.
I was so weak. So I'm sitting in the middle of the floor crying, like I'm going to die.
Did
God
they
is
ever
done with me.
diagnose you?
I'll come back to that.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, yeah, they're saying that it's because I'm resisting what God is doing, but no, God is definitely getting me back from something. I'm sitting in the middle of the floor recalling like 2008. I'm like, what did I do when I was 16? What did I do when I was
I
21?
just want you to know you're not by yourself.
Yeah.
Listen,
I mean,
I've
and
been
it
right.
wasn't until it wasn't until, and Bishop Blue puts it this way. He says, God does not get pleasure out of punishing you. Yes, there are consequences to your choices,
Yes.
but it's
Consequences for
not
your
that
actions.
God
Yes.
is sending fiery darts to the
Mm.
people of God.
That's why I love
That's
that
not
guy.
what he's doing. He's the devil does that. The devil assigns fiery darts.
You
But
better watch
because
your
God is
tone.
God, he can use them.
Woo!
You know, so I feel it in the room. I feel it in the room.
I want you to go now. I mean,
feel it
we've been settled for a little bit. I want you to go now.
I
Because
feel
I'm
it in the
telling
room.
you, I'm still
Truly.
light up from yesterday.
So even if somebody who's watching now is dealing with a situation that seems like you're being punished, it might be a consequence of your choice, but your God is a good father. I seen in the comments, that's my sis. God is a gentleman. He's never and to put it plainly like this, if God was going to punish you and take joy in it, what was the point of Calvary?
Watch yourself, Doc. Let me get. What time is it? We almost over our time because I can.
Why would he go such
Good
great
God.
lengths to save us if all he was going to do was turn around and beat us up every time we did something?
Watch yourself, Doc. Watch yourself.
But see, that's the dichotomy of Christianity.
Yes.
Understanding that we do have to live holy. We do have to live a separated life. And there are consequences for our choices. But at the very same time, Jesus is literally rooting for us. He is rooting for us to make it. He's rooting for us to repent. He's rooting for us to turn. He's rooting for us to be sanctified. So God does not get glory out of putting bad on us. That's not. God can't be anything except what he is. And because evil is not his nature, because sickness is not his nature, because death is not his nature, you have to understand that it's not him that orchestrates those things to hurt us. But because God is God, he can use it to deliver us. He can use it to save us. So it really takes, and I'm on this journey of spiritual maturity. It really takes spiritual maturity to understand the nature of God. But for some people growing up in certain environments, they kind of enjoy saying, oh yeah, God is getting them.
Yeah.
That's demonic.
Yeah.
That's not holy. That's demonic.
You know, even sometimes when we go through stuff with people, when we see a person that may have done us wrong, we love the thought of they getting something back. And I think, you know, what you're talking about is a new mindset that many of us have to adopt.
Has to be.
Because we've been lingering with an old mindset that is causing us to look at it from this one place, this one examination, and not necessarily understanding, hey, God don't work how you want him to work for the sake of your feelings. He works how he needs to work for the sake of his agenda.
Come on.
That's why I'm gonna get out of this because we had a good time yesterday. But we operate on feelings. He operates on agenda.
Come on.
And I hate to say it like this because it can sound it can sound like he's just moving us along, but we're a tool in his tool bag.
We are literally on assignment. We are on assignment.
Oh,
And even Ezekiel said, "Do I take pleasure in the death of the wicked?"
oh,
You know, why would we, as born again believers of God who are recipients of his grace
mm,
and we're living in the fruit of his mercy,
mm.
what is it other than the devil that would make us be happy that someone who is lost is being hurt?
Mm.
You know, I grieve when I find out that people have passed away, and because we don't know all things, we make speculations whether we
Yes,
admit that we do or
absolutely,
not. But we
absolutely.
can look, but the fruit of our lifestyle is exactly what it is. It's the fruit of
Right,
our lifestyle. And
agreed.
so we can make assumptions and say, you know, this person was living contrary. It grieves me. I don't, there's nothing in me that says, oh, they wasn't living right. You know, God got them.
I grieve more in what you're saying now than I
Yeah.
grieve for a saint.
Yeah. Well, we
I
do not
grieve both.
glory as those who
Yep.
don't have no, we don't grieve as those that have no hope.
Hope. Yep.
You know, that they have hope. We have hope. So when those who have not walked into the understanding and the knowledge of God, and we see that they're lost, that's when the Holy Ghost really kicks in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because that heart check, I just saw it in the comments, that heart check, it's only the devil that will make us say, yeah, God got him.
Oh,
And we're so lost that we think that that's holiness that makes us say that. You don't get brownie points with God. I'm not going to go that way, but
no, go ahead. Go, please, please.
we don't get brownie points from God being dogmatic and spewing pain towards those who are already in pain, even if they look like they're having a good time. If they're not saved, you know they're grieving. You know their soul is longing for something else. You know that they're in a war. Romans 7:23 says, "Behold, another law in my members is warring against the law of my mind." They're in a war.
Work all of the text.
They're in a war.
Work all of it, Doc.
And so when you see people going after men that don't belong to them, when you see people going after drugs that don't belong in their body, when you see people taking part in environments that are antithetical to the environment that God has called them to take dominion in, that's the war.
Mm.
Their flesh is looking for something that only their spirit can satisfy.
Mm.
And so that's when we need to tap in and say, okay, Lord, I have to tell my story. And this goes back to the very first comment that we made almost an hour ago, where
An
we're
hour ago.
crazy if we think that what we go through is for us.
Mm. That is the comment we made an hour ago.
It's never for us.
Never.
When we think about the circle of life, it's exactly that. It's cyclical.
Mm.
So my parents had to die when they did to free me up to do what God has called me to do in this season. And until you can look God in the face, not his literal face, but spiritually look God in the face and say, nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done, you haven't become like Christ.
Man, I lost protocol. Sylvia.
Yeah, until you can say what Jesus said, we're not there yet. Until we can say what Jesus said in the garden, we're not there yet. And that you don't get to pick and choose when you say nevertheless. I feel my help right now. We don't get to choose when we say nevertheless. You have to say it in the garden because it means nothing when you say it on the boat. It means nothing when you're walking with the disciples. You have to say nevertheless in the garden. When you know your death is imminent, you have to say it in the garden. You have to.
You know, I just believe that, you know, I love preaching. I love good preaching, people who can preach. But I'm gonna be honest with you. My enjoyment is conversations like this. That's my enjoyment. I enjoy picking the brains of people um, for breakdown, right? Um, Bishop Blue was a teacher by trade. He was a teacher by trade. We got a little joke that says that when he preach, he gonna take you from the book of Genesis to the book of Revelation. He's gonna start in Mark, but to paint this point, he's gonna walk you from
Listen,
Genesis to Revelations.
listen, listen. I thought I knew the Bible
Oh,
until
I
I
did
got
too.
in the room.
Listen,
I thought I knew.
Bishop Blue, man, I love you. Listen, he gonna start you in Mark, and he's gonna walk you from Genesis to Revelation in
Listen,
one sermon. In one
and
sermon.
Will, good. Michaela saying, and Will, good teaching, and,
In one sermon.
and it's life changing. It's
Yes.
like it literally saved my husband and I. That teaching, it saved
And
us.
the point that the point that I'm bringing that is because I believe one of the point that I'm making is I believe one of the lost arts that we have in kingdom at large is the teaching one. I think everybody is building up their hopes for the hoop, the chant, the praise break,
Yeah,
and I don't find anything wrong with
and
that.
I love all of it.
Yeah, I'm not.
I
I'm
love all of it.
but the reason why I have a love for stuff like this is because it's a moment to teach,
Yeah,
and
for
the
sure.
Bible says, "My people perish from a lack of knowledge." That knowledge is not just the Bible; it's an understanding of how to apply the Bible in your everyday life. And I think this is why I have such great for this kind of stuff because people didn't hear the heart, the mind of God, number one, through the vessel, but then they hear the vessel and how they manage certain seasons.
Yeah.
And I think this is how we're going to get people to understand God at a higher level beyond just him being someone who can turn the thing around for you, a sugar daddy, you know, turn your credit upside down in 3 days. I have nothing against any of that. I'm not coming for anybody. Got to make sure I make that clear because people will feel some type of way. But what I'm talking about is just really bringing people into a high level of understanding, like who God really is. I
Mm-hmm.
bring different people on here who come from different backgrounds because I know that at the end of the day, their testimony is going to be who God was to them
Mm-hmm.
and how they made it through with God, whether that be in the professional realm or whether that be in the kingdom realm. That their story is going to be the same. We get ready to get out of here because I don't like to possess too much of the time of these internet streets, and I want to look forward to having uh, both you and your husband back. Man, I see so many different faces coming on tonight. They came on for you. Now, I've known some of them for a little while. They come on for you, but I want to say hi to everybody. I see them. Pastor Bellamy, what's up, girl? All of the great people I've met years ago. So happy to see some
You're
of
so
them
funny.
jumping on. But um, Doc, I want to say thank you. I want to what's going on with your development course? Are you still
Yeah. So,
tell people about that and tell people how to get into it. Look at this. My big sister delegate, Baltimore City's 45th delegate is on
uh-oh,
tonight watching. I
uh-oh.
love it. That's my big sister right there. She wouldn't dare miss a show. She's been on every show.
Oh, that's awesome. Gotta
I
love
love
those
that. I love
support.
that woman.
Yeah. So let's see. If you do not know, I do have a full-time job, and that's a running joke.
Hold on. We laughed about that in the beginning, right?
That's like, yeah.
Because I asked all the question that people asked me. I asked Doc before when we were in the back. I said, "Are you still working?"
That's because people see us traveling for ministry and they think we're retired, but we're
I,
not. We both work full time. Thank God.
I
Uh,
get asked that question all the time. People be
yes.
like, "You
Yes.
people like you got a full-time job?" Yes. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was in Killeen, Texas, ministering to youth at a youth conference, and this morning my behind had to be in the office at
Listen.
8 a.m. And I
Okay.
was there at 7:50, and my wife can contest to it. 7:50. And I was tired as so I think people just like to know how
Yeah.
y'all able to do that. Go, 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 and still pop
Yeah.
up in y'all professional worlds and show up. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. So I'm a social scientist by training, and I still work for the federal government. So, um, very fortunate to be able to work from any state,
Yeah.
as long as I have my laptop and my PIV card. That's always
Now
fun.
that now that there, that's the blessing. I
It
only get to
is.
work from home on Fridays, but Monday
Oh,
through Thursday I'm in the office.
that's all
That's
right.
that's the blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and my husband, he works for a non-governmental organization, NGO, World Humanitarian NGO, and I'm very, very proud of him. He graduated with his
For
doctorate
sure.
in May. Yes, very proud of him.
May
So,
of this year, correct?
May of this year. Yes, he did.
Congratulations, good brother.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So we're both full time remote, but we're also very, very active in the ministry. But aside from my day job, there is Covenant Consulting, and there are many arms to Covenant Consulting. But
Yep.
the arm that has most of my attention presently is focused on consulting through trainings and facilitation, specifically emotional intelligence, systems thinking, communication training. And this is not just for ministry, these are organizations, small or large.
Yep.
One actual venture that I am working on now is introducing these trainings to sports teams,
Yep.
because that team science that we talk about on the science side of research is very true in terms of collaboration with teams across the board. So, looking to implement emotional intelligence trainings for sports teams, both on the professional and collegiate level. So, if anybody's looking for emotional intelligence facilitator, I would love to be your girl. It can be your church. It can be your family. It can be your community organization. It could be your professional organization. And you can visit www.drsylvialong.com.
And I can contest, she came last year
2
to
years ago. It
was
had to
it
be. Oh
2 years?
wait, no, was it?
No, it was last year. It
That
was
was
last year.
23.
It was
23.
23. It was 23. I got a great memory. It was
Because I
23.
was sick all of 2022. So yeah.
How? Yeah, yeah, yes, indeed, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Because I remember I came looking for you, like, where is Sylvia? I don't, and I said, you all right? So that's when I found out.
God
But
is good.
23, you came to us. You came to the Bridge and Bethel
Yes.
fellowship to do this training, and I can contest that she did a um phenomenal job. I actually wrote her notes for her, y'all. So if you
I didn't mean to laugh like that.
no, 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 no. You listen. You know me. I'm silly. I'm being mild tonight, but I'm not this mild. Usually, I think I'm just a little tired, but I'm being
That's all
mild
right.
tonight.
That's all
Yeah,
right.
yeah. But y'all know I wrote her notes, so I got the real PowerPoint, and if y'all want it, it's going on sale for 1,000 comma 999.99 cents. uh,
Lord,
oh
whatever
Lord,
way
help
you
me,
use me, whatever way you
help
use
me, Jesus. No, she did a fantastic job. So, if my word means anything, and I don't know how much
me.
it means,
Thank you.
bring her, because she does a fantastic job. Where can they find you on social media? For those who already don't know,
Sure.
my Instagram audience would love to know.
Yes, Instagram, it is Sylvia Long, PhD.
Mhm.
Same for Facebook, if you're searching for any of our other pages, we do have Innovate Institute on there as well as Shop Covenant Culture, but you can look up Sylvia Elizabeth Long, and it's also Sylvia Elizabeth Long, PhD, CPH on LinkedIn.
Yeah. I love it. Let me take this moment to give flowers. I've been really tapping into my little emotional side lately. Uh yeah, I don't know, just growing up a little bit. That's it.
Good. I'm
Uh
proud.
but let me give some flowers to Dr. Long, because uh Dr. Long, when I believe that God gave me a gift to speak to the future generations to come, and I'm not a hooping preacher by far. That's not me. Um, but she believed and brought me, and didn't hesitate. And so I want to give her flowers for that, because it says something about people that believe in you with no propaganda.
That's true.
Uh, some people will believe in you with propaganda, and that's a different podcast when I'm on the opposite side to talk about it. People will love you if they think that you can change their last name.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, but of course I didn't, and it's always been my friend. And she believed in me, gave me a chance, and so I'm gratefully um thankful for her and the consistent friendship that she gives as a sister. And so I appreciate her. So do me a favor, y'all. We get ready to get out of here. We are over our time just a little bit. Can y'all throw up some hearts in the chat? Can y'all throw up some hearts in the chat? Come on, let's go. Let's throw up some hearts for our sister and friend. Let's do it. Let's throw it up. Let's throw it up. I see hearts going up. Throw it up in the chat. Let's show us some love before we get out of here. And then I'm gonna give y'all my 30-second conclusion to
I
the
didn't even
matter.
know there was a time limit. I mean, I was just getting into
I
gear.
listen. I know I do this to everybody because everybody be like, "Oh no, you don't have to stop." I put that time limit on only because Rome wasn't built in a day,
That's true. That's true.
and I want you to come back and give more later on. And so, if I built Rome now, we ain't got nothing to give,
Well,
later
guess
on.
what? As you stated, this is my first interview in a long time, especially since Daddy passed, and then also I didn't do too many even before that because I was still battling in my body. But I'm in a talking mood, so I might get on Facebook Live when we hang up here. So,
Yo, let me tell you something. If you don't know who you are, I pray to God you get to know who you are.
who, me or people in general?
People in general. No,
Yeah,
no, hear me. Hear
yeah.
me. I know we gotta go. Hear me though, Sil. Hear me though, Sil. Like, I'm a pest to people. And I know that. But I teach this to parents. Every quality about a child is a negative. This is why the Bible says, train them up in the way they should go. Because when we train certain qualities, it becomes a blessing to the kingdom later.
Listen, Bishop Blue has also changed my perspective, even on that, in terms of our differences and our uniqueness. And he labels it uniqueness for that reason. And he
Oh,
said, if you're talkative, that's not a bad thing
it's
unless
not a bad
the devil
thing.
perverts it to make it a
Unless
bad
the
thing.
devil,
If you're
unless the
shy and you don't talk enough,
there you
that's
go.
okay until the devil perverts it
That's
and
it.
you don't speak up when you should. So our uniqueness makes us who we are.
There we go. And so this is the point that I'm raising. Elder Spud, Pastor Spud, his wife don't do lives. I said, yo, could you just please ask her for me? He said, yeah. Asked her, she did it, and was just like, oh my God, I had so much fun.
That's
You
good.
haven't talked in a
I
while.
love them.
I do too. You haven't talked in a while. Here it is. You're about to start. This is what I'm called to do. I'm
Yeah.
called to ignite
Yes. So thank
people.
you. Let's give flowers to Pastor
No, no,
Dwayne.
no, no, no. But
No,
I
I'm
want.
being serious.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
being serious because
yeah.
I have not, and people who follow me on Facebook,
Hmm.
they will know before 2022, I would do Bible study on
I'm,
Facebook.
I'm,
You
I'm
remember that?
praying. Listen, I'm praying that this sparks you to start
I would do Bible study
doing
on
lives again.
live.
That's what I'm praying.
Jump on live when the Lord would put something on me. And I have literally been in a silent place going on almost 3 years. But slowly but surely, the Lord is bringing me out of that. And
I
I thank
love
the Lord for
this.
using you for igniting that.
You
Even
see,
to
I didn't give up. You got sick. You was like, I can't make this one, but we'll reschedule. You see, I came back and was like, hey,
yeah,
how does reschedule date work for you?
that's true.
Because like
That's true.
that's what I'm called to do.
That's true.
So if I pest you, I'm sorry. I
No,
don't
you
mean
didn't
it. No,
me.
I'm just talking to anybody. I'm sorry, I don't mean it. This is who God made me to be. And so I gotta be this person for a reason. And I pray that you understand that. All right, y'all. 30 seconds. Dr. Sills going backstage. Y'all say y'all wave bye to it. 30 seconds. All right. Here we go. 30 seconds of conversation from the host is how we end. Um, you know what I'm praying for you? I'm praying that as you develop and grow even more, no matter how old you are, that you really find you, that you really find the authentic you that you are. I understand life gives you lemons, apples, bananas, pears, peaches, and strawberries. All of those wonderful things that we have. But the question becomes, even with all of those things, who are you? I know that you've been blessed by God. You have a great career. You have money. You have children. You have a marriage. You have a career. But outside of all of that, the question becomes, who are you? I know you have a title in your church. I know you love serving your local church. I know you love serving the kingdom. But the question becomes, who are you? My prayer for you is that you will find you while you're navigating through this life and never pervert you just because someone doesn't understand you. That's my prayer for you. Until next time, my friends, tomorrow we got another episode because we're in Holy Convocation the rest of the week. So none of my episodes will be on Thursday this week. So I'm getting two in this week. We got another person. Until next time, tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I pray that you will join us for another conversation. God bless y'all. We love you. Thank you, Dr. Sylvia, for joining us. Y'all have a superb and wonderful night.